Hey everyone, this is Rocky and thanks for clicking on my video. This is going to be a review of episode 3 of the new series, The Flash. Going to jump right into what was great about this episode. The overall theme of the episode seemed to be about forgiveness and moving on, as quite a few characters had experiences of this. Barry needed to learn to forgive himself for not being able to save his mother, as well as not being able to save his father from prison. There's moments in the episode where Barry speaks that, at any time he could break his father out of prison and no one would see. But it takes Joe to remind him that, his father would be on the run, and that's not, the way he wants to get him out. He wants to work with Barry to free his father and to clear him of all charges. So throughout the episode, we see Barry kind of internally dealing with this. With Caitlin, we get flashbacks with her fiance Ronnie. So we got our first glimpse of Robbie Amell as Ronnie, which will later become Firestorm, of course. But we get that first initial flashbacks of the actual night of the particle accelerator explosion. And we see that, Ronnie had to go. That's what he told Caitlin. He had to go down because he had to try and do what he could to save everyone. So she's been dealing with that regret that he wasn't supposed to be there that night. He was only there for her, to help support her. So she's been carrying that around. And by the end of the episode, you see that she's kind of let that go. Cisco has been dealing with the fact that he was the one that actually locked Ronnie into the particle accelerator to prevent, that energy from coming out and, possibly killing everyone. So we see him that his comedy kind of is a shield, basically to protect himself from, giving into those thoughts. But we, again, see by the end of the episode that it seems that he's come to terms with that, because it seemed like he was afraid that Caitlin was upset at him and Caitlin blamed him. But with their conversation, we see that, that stress has been alleviated from him. We also see Joe, who was friends with Barry's father, and turned his back on him. And he hasn't visited him in prison for a long time. We see him go to Barry's father and say, essentially, I'm sorry I didn't believe you. I'm reopening the case. We're going to get you out. And very, very powerful scene. Also in this scene, we get also the attack on Joe from the villain in this episode, Kyle Nimbus, called the Mist, due to his ability to turn into a poisonous gas. As the night of the particle accelerator explosion, he was being executed in prison, essentially. So he was given gas at the same moment the explosion happened, thus triggering his body's ability to turn into poisonous gas and, kill people, essentially. So he's been working through his list, of which point he's down to his final target, which is Joe. So within this scene, we get Barry running in, and for a moment, Barry's father sees, Barry, of course, behind the mask. And then Barry, of course, uses his speed to blur his face. But for that moment, you can see recognition on Barry's father's face. Now, is that recognition that he knows it's Barry behind the mask, or that it's similar to the lightning and shrieks that he saw the night of his wife's murder? We don't find that information out here, but I'm leaning towards that he recognized Barry. But we'll see what happens in the later episodes if that gets expanded on. I imagine it probably will. So a lot of emotion in this episode. So I'm definitely glad this didn't show last week. As last week we had the emotional episodes with Arrow. If we would have had, flashes of Arrow both having emotional last week, I would have been a complete wreck. So I definitely appreciate that they, gave an extra week for the Flash from this week. Now we also see that Iris and Eddie have been hiding their relationship, and it's costing their relationship. And then we get them coming to the realization that if they want to have a relationship, they need to let Iris's father, Joe, know. Of course, we find out that Joe already knew, because of course he's a detective. He's going to figure these things out, and they haven't exactly been settled. So just a lot of moving on and acceptance of various characters. So really, really strong episode. The villain was great. We see that they're starting to turn Star Labs essentially into a prison for these metahumans. They're using the remains of the particle accelerator to fashion prisons in this case. They actually captured a metahuman, so they have them in a prison cell at this point until they figure out how to remove their powers. So legally, a little bit shaky, but then again, Kyle Nimitz is considered dead, so that's a bit of gray area for them. So it'll be interesting to see how they continue on with that, with other prisoners, and if they're eventually going to get full. A nice thing I noticed is the door to the particle accelerator. It's very similar in design to the symbol of Firestorm, just the lines and everything. It's just a subtle reference to that character. So we'll be seeing Firestorm later on. When that happens, I'll probably end up doing a Geek Out portion of that video, just going into more detail about Firestorm and Ronnie Price. If you guys have any questions about Ronnie and Firestorm, definitely put in the comments below. Be happy to give you guys whatever information I can find on that for you. All in all, it was a very great episode. Definitely feel it was one of the stronger episodes of the season. The one thing I would have liked to have seen in the fight between Barry and the Mist, I would have preferred if maybe Barry had explored another avenue of his powers. Because in the comics, Flash basically does, like a whirlwind punch, where essentially he spins his arms really fast, creates a giant whirlwind. That would have been interesting to see him develop in this in order to keep the Mist away from him. But in this case, he ran real fast and was able to weaken his enemy. So I would like to see a little bit more progression in his uses of his powers. We do see that he's able to blur his face. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, just want to see a little bit more expansion of his abilities. But all in all, very solid episode, great writing. Definitely looking forward to the rest of this season. And I do want to go ahead and give props to the Flash crew, as they have been given a full season run. So we will be seeing a few more episodes than initially planned. I believe there's going to be probably like 21, 22 episodes this season. I'll find that information out for sure, and I'll put it down in the description. But yeah, definitely props to the Flash crew, the actors, and everyone. They've done a great job so far. It's going to be a great season. So let me know in the comments, what did you guys think about this episode? Did it kind of get your feels going a little bit? Did you get a little teary-eyed maybe in a couple parts? Definitely let me know. If you like this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and share it with your friends, family, anyone you think might be interested in it. But above all, definitely put something in the comments. Let's have some conversations. And go ahead and subscribe to my channel, as I will be doing weekly reviews of The Flash, as well as the other Marvel and DC television shows. So let's go ahead and keep up with that. Let's get some conversations going, guys. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.